Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It is Monday, November 15th, and it's always on a Monday. I'm joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com, one of the finest handicappers in the country. Doug, how are you today? And
I'm
how was
doing
your
excellent.
weekend? I'm sorry.
Oh, well, a lot of things going on. So had a lot of diversity, but in terms of the sports betting side of things, 3-1-1 in college. So that was good. In fact, I did a video elsewhere too. I had Baylor for the outright upset. So that was a feather in my cap. Wasn't my top play, but it still was good. Won in every other sport also. So between NHL, college basketball, NBA, and then went 2-0 in the NFL Sunday. So Ross, from a betting standpoint, no complaints.
It's a beautiful thing, my man. I know we saw some upsets over the weekend. Specifically, I'm talking about college football on Saturday. And yeah, I also had Baylor, which was nice. You always feel great when you have an outright underdog winner. And on top of that, we had Kansas upsetting Texas 57-56 at Texas as a 30.5-point underdog. And boy, oh boy, keep all sharp things away from Steve Sarkisian. Especially keep all alcohol away from him right now, because things aren't going very well at Texas. I know that's hitting below the belt, but it is what it is. Also at Mississippi State, myself, Doug, another upset. And they came from 28-3 down at Auburn to win that game by 9. And who else? Ole Miss upsetting nationally ranked A&M as well. So we had, some upsets of notoriety involving top teams in the country, Texas not being one of them, but just because of the magnitude of that upset, I mentioned it.
Oh yeah, I mean that was they had lost 100 some games, I believe, or Pac 12, excuse me, Big 12 games. Okay, road games, I think it is, and they had a streak also, I believe, of 100 games that they had not. Or there had been 100 games that they had not covered in which they were underdogs of 24 or more. And Texas had covered, or they had a large number. I'm sorry, winning and losing. That's what it was, straight up. So they've lost as that big of a favorite. They lost 100 games. Texas had won 74, if I'm not mistaken, don't hold me, that's either 74 or 76, in which they were a favorite of 24 more. So Texas has lost 5 in a row for the first time since 1956. And oh boy, the comforts of being an offensive play caller back in Alabama probably would feel good to Steve Sarkisian at this point, because man, that's as embarrassing as it gets.
No doubt about it. I don't know what equivalent to put on it, or what direct correlation would be in that regard. But Kansas is widely considered, especially over the last decade or so, the bottom of the barrel when it comes to college football, especially in the Power 5 conferences. So good for them, Doug. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, I think it's great. It's
Yeah.
good for the sport, from that standpoint. And I will toss in too. How about the great Jimbo Fisher, the offensive genius who figured out how to take care of Alabama? He goes into Mississippi and he goes up against the 10th ranked defense in the country, and they could not move the ball on the ground to save their lives. End up with 19 measly points, and Lane Kiffin put a coaching whipping on him like you don't see very often. But boy, he got it handed to him. That's for sure.
Yeah, I had a 5-2 day on Saturday, and that was again one of my picks, Mississippi. I just love that Matt Corral. I don't know what it is about him, Doug. Being a former athlete and being undersized myself, I always had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, and he just plays with such flair and confidence and leadership on the field. It's hard not to gravitate toward him if you're a teammate.
Absolutely. No, he's the real deal. If he was 2 inches taller, I mean, not to say he can't make it in the NFL, but if he was 6'2", boy, you would. I mean, he's going to be drafted. It's just a matter of how the workouts go and everything else. But yeah, fine quarterback, great arm, great mobility, and in a system that seems to suit his skills perfectly.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll see. I mean, we've had quarterbacks that small, 5'11", 6 foot,
Right.
which by NFL standards is very small for a quarterback. But, you look at Russell Wilson, you look at what Drew Brees did. Now
Yep.
they're a rarity, right? But it's not impossible. Chase Daniels made a good living as a backup quarterback in the NFL for many years, and he's in that size category. I got a homework assignment here for the folks. And if you want to join in, Doug, I don't want to leave you out like the last time. But, any favorite of 11 and a half or greater this year in college football that's coming off of, we're talking about underdogs. So favorites of 11 and a half or greater coming off a straight up underdog win the week before. And that win came by 24 or less. They've gone 15-5 against the spread this year. So again, college football favorites of 11 and a half or greater coming off a straight up dog win by 24 or less have gone 15-5 against the spread this year. There's 2 games that qualify in that regard this week. Feel free to shout out on the feedback, folks. And Doug, if you want to shout it out too as well, you're more than welcome to. All right, we got free picks in college football on Saturday. Let's not waste any more time and let's get to Mr. Doug Upstone and see what he has.
Okay, well, I definitely, I'll take the assignment for sure. I'll either chime in by writing or I will maybe on Thursday's show. We'll see what happens either way. But talking free picks, well, let's talk some ACC, which for some reason that's come up a lot for me this year. I honestly don't even know why, but it just has. But the game we're talking about is Pitt and Virginia. And in this one, Pittsburgh has is in the driver's seat to get to the ACC championship with a victory. The only way they can't get there is if they would lose to Virginia, okay, this upcoming week. So the game has a lot of juice to it. Let's put it that way. Now, last week there wasn't much juice in the Virginia offense because they had to go with Jay Woolfolk as their starting quarterback, and they only scored 3 points against Notre Dame at home. Brendan Armstrong, of course, was out with a rib injury that he suffered against BYU, and some thought that he might be able to come back in 2 weeks, but he has been, let's just say listed as questionable now going into this week, which I think is part of the reason why Pittsburgh is a 13.5-point favorite to start the week. Now, Armstrong has kind of intimated now the football program itself in Virginia, they've been closed-lipped on this one. Whether if he suffered a broken rib, if you read anything about what Armstrong said, he's all but said that he suffered a broken rib. So that's kind of telling. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But for Pittsburgh, this is their deal. Okay, I mean this is to get to the ACC championship. They're going to be at home. They're not going to take it easy if Woolfolk has to play. And the problem I see with Virginia is that this season, Ross, they have allowed 30 sacks in 10 games. Okay. They're going up against a Pittsburgh defense that is number 3 in the country in creating sacks at 34 a game. So whether it's Woolfolk or Armstrong, okay, I think they're going to be in trouble. And let's face it, Armstrong, if he plays, and who knows how strong he'll be, one hit is all it's going to take, and he's on the sidelines, okay, in this one. So I think it's a big problem. Then you have Pittsburgh. They got Kenny Pickett, who arguably is as good as any quarterback in the country, certainly the best senior quarterback, in my opinion, in the country. They got this team. They're going to be fired up. They're going up against a Virginia defense that is 121st in the country in defense. I think it's going to be a special senior day for Pittsburgh, who this year is 8-2 straight up and against the spread in their games. And they have won those games they have covered all those games by an average of over 20 points per game. And I think Pitt finishes off the Wahoos and gets the job done for an easy cover in this ACC clash.
Yeah, there are only 2 losses. I know they lost early in the year to Western Michigan, which was a head scratcher, 47-44. And then they lost to Miami of Florida.
Yep.
I believe those 2 losses both came by a field goal, or they were very close. So
right, that's
very
correct.
Close to being a 10-0 team as we speak. And all good points, Doug. Yeah, I mean, you got if you bring in Armstrong back with a broken rib, and you just rattled off those stats about how well Pittsburgh gets to the quarterback and how often Virginia lets their quarterback get hit. That's an awful iffy situation there, regardless of whatever protection he wears. So again, keep an eye on the status of the quarterback for Virginia this week. But Doug likes Pittsburgh. Doug, the number you have currently?
I get it. It's right now it's 13.5 as we do this video. I would guess if Armstrong does play, might come down to 10 or 10.5 would be my guess, but
Yeah.
I have very little faith in Virginia being able to do it, because if he was 100% healthy, the line would be even lower is my guess.
Yeah, I mean, again, the other stat you brought up was how bad Virginia is defensively and how good the Pittsburgh passing game is, namely led by that senior quarterback, Kenny Pickett, who's, in my estimation, should be a #1 draft choice in the upcoming draft. So anyway, just a friendly reminder, folks, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube sports betting channel, please take a second to do so. Hit that subscribe button. Costs you absolutely nothing to do so. And while you're there, hit that notification bell. And every time we release or publish a video on this channel, you will be notified, so you won't miss anything. Again, just subscribe and hit that notification bell. And always remember, folks, we put our best foot forward in these videos. Don't be afraid to give us a like, and we appreciate that very much. I'm going to take a look at the number 22 team in the country, Louisiana Lafayette, or Louisiana, whatever you want to call them these days, as they travel to Liberty to take on the Flames, 4 o'clock on Saturday. Right now, as we speak, Liberty is a 4-point favorite. And this is another one of those classic examples, Doug. We have the unranked team in Liberty, -4 with a 7-3 record as a favorite against Louisiana Lafayette, who's 9-1 and whose only loss came in their season opener at Texas, which at that time it looked like, oh, that's not a bad loss, but the way it looks now, you can make another case. And in any event, they've won 9 straight. They're a ranked team and with a better record by 2 games. And for whatever reason, the odds maker says, hey, you know what? Liberty still deserves to be the favorite in this game at home. And whenever that happens, you know which way I'm going to go. I always go with the contrarian approach. I trust the odds makers much more than the people who bet in these college football or vote in these college football polls. And that's the direction I'm definitely going to go. So Liberty 7-3. I mean, 2 of their losses came by 3 points each. So much better team than probably their record indicates. And also they had last week off, Doug, to prepare. And since losing 38-13 at Texas, like I alluded to, they're facing a team coming off 9 straight wins. But again, this line speaks volumes to me. And the final note here, Liberty is 4-0 straight up in ATS at home this year, with an average victory margin of 35.3 points per game. I'm going to take Liberty, lay to 4 at verse number 22, Louisiana Lafayette. And Doug likes Pittsburgh minus the 13.5 versus Virginia. Doug, any final thoughts? How you been doing of late? What you got going on in college football this week, and any other sport you like to speak on?
Yes, well, just real quick, I will mention that Doug Upstone at DocSports.com is the address to find me at. And as I mentioned, 3-1-1 in college football. So that's going. And I'm looking at it early on. I'm looking at 3 different games, and one of those could very well be my game of the year. It's not for certain yet. It's Monday, so it's not got a lot of homework to do, but there's 3 games that really stand out to me. So I'm looking forward to that. Right now, again, on this Monday, the last 2 days, 9-2-1 altogether in all sports across the well, just all sports, I guess, across the board. So that's been very good. That's up over $2,000 based on profit, based on units in terms of profit. So that's been very strong. And so, you know what, college football, college basketball, we got a lot of stuff going on, and actually kind of sad to see we're winding down on college football, Ross. But this week, what does it mean? It means next week we really head into it because it's rivalry week. it's going to be fantastic for that. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that. There's a couple of good ones this week: USC, UCLA, Stanford, Cal. Not a good game, but rivalry. Have a hard time saying that word right now. But I'm really looking forward to that, and of course the NFL. We're always looking forward to that, Ross.
Yeah, and following week, I believe we see Mississippi and Mississippi State on Thanksgiving night. I believe Auburn and Alabama square off 2 days later. So some big rivalry games coming up with some pretty good implications, whether it be in the conference race or the national landscape. So in any event, I went 5-2 in college football on Saturday. Again, I had a 10-star top play game of the week on Ohio State -21. They win by 28 over Purdue. And also Mississippi. I had Mississippi State. I had Baylor. And I had one East Carolina as well, an outright underdog winner as well. So it was a good week for the good guys. My 2 losses came by a combined 2.5 points. That's the way it goes. Fine line between 5-2 and 7-0, but I'll take 5-2 any day, Doug. And after a slow start to the college football season, right now I've gone 11-4 with my last 15 and 14-6 with my last 20 in college football. Stay tuned as you could go to my website, rbwins.com. It's there you will find my daily picks, also my subscription plan, 7-day, 30-day annual subscriptions. And Saturday in college football, another big day, 5 to 7 picks, including my college football 10-star game of the month on Saturday. And again, that's rbwins.com, and you can find Doug at docsports.com. Until the next time, for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, we like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Take care and God bless.